This is the primary team for Abyss 103. I would say this is probably the easiest and most consistent way to clear it. It does use Baal and Sezan, who, even though he's a really good PV unit that I recommend, some people might not have him yet because he didn't take him from the episode 1 selector. So I will have a backup team that you can see in the second portion of this video. And let's take a look at everyone's stats. So first up is Adventurer Ross. He is on his Path of Air plus 15 HP set gear with Aureus to reduce the amount of damage that our other allies take, because most of the damage is being taken by Mercedes. It's a lot of AoE damage, so all the threat is going to be on her since she's the squishiest member. And then for his skill tree, you can just skip the S1 damage, and you can skip the F-Res 1 for now and get the rest because they're all pretty good. There's Tamarinne as usual, who is really just Path of Air gear, plus 15 at all, slap it on her, it'll be good enough. With Magaraha's Tome for more cycling, you could also use something like Rod of Amaryllis for more healing, though I find the cycling to be more useful. Next up is Baal and Sezan, our primary debuffer for this floor. You do want to plus 4 his S3, and also give him the EE that increases his debuff chances by 5% on his S3. I'm also using Sierra Ren, though I'm leaving it plus 0 because I don't want to invest the artifact EXP into it. This is just for more chances at debuffs. And then for his gear, you need at least 60 effectiveness with a healthy amount of speed and a bit of bulk. Lastly is Mercedes, who I just have on. This is the Path of Air plus 15 destruction gear, and I think this is the plus 15 destruction gear, and I'm pretty sure this is from maybe the Wyvern set. And then we also have the plus 15 crit set gear for Path of Air, plus the Ogre Armory boots from really early on in Path of Air, just for the speed main stat, with Daydream Joker as our artifact of choice. That is it for the stats, and now we can take a look at our run. So wave 1 is the unlimited rats floor. The way this floor works is if there is less than 6 rats on the field and the rat uses S3, they will spawn another rat. Also, killing a rat will decrease the skill cooldowns of another rat so that they'll have their S3 up. And also, hitting any rat with a single target attack will CR push all of the other rats. So Baal plus Mercedes is a nice combo for this, especially if you manage to death break all of the rats. If you want to make this easy, you could just reset until you death break all 6, though the odds of that are pretty low. Mercedes' damage output is high enough though, as you see the CR push effect here. Her damage output is high enough that you can just kill the rats, even if you don't death break all of them. Like, even if they're spawning rats, you'll be able to kill them eventually. If you get lucky here, we death break the big rat, and our S1 goes into the rat that didn't get death broken, so we managed to get a clean wipe here. The elite rat is slightly tankier than the rest. After you kill him, the other rats that spawn will be non-elite tankiness. So the mechanic for phase 1 here with Blaze Dingo is to not buff. And we're going to focus down Cidd, though all of our damage is multi-target, so you end up hitting him anyways. I just think Cidd is really annoying to deal with. So we try to kill him off, and you see me avoiding using any skills that give me buffs. Otherwise, Blaze Dingo will use his S2 as an extra attack, which is very annoying to deal with. Also, if you don't manage to kill Cidd in time, which is when Blaze Dingo uses his S3, he'll switch over to normal Dingo. Masked Cidd will also change over to Cidd and regen all of his HP. Also, you see I'm avoiding using Tamarinne S2. This is just because if you use Tamarinne S2, any non-attack skill will give Cidd 50% evasion until his next turn. So unless you really need the heal, don't use it, or you can just wait until after you kill Cidd. We get a lucky poison proc onto Blaze Dingo. And here, he's about to die, so I just S2 into him. And now we are just waiting, so we can heal now since Cidd is dead. We're just waiting for Blaze Dingo to use his S3, so we can switch over to normal Dingo and get ready for the fight. A second poison, very nice, an extra 5% damage. We're also holding Tamarinne S3. He uses S3, and now he is regular Dingo. My entry here was a little bit awkward, having Baal not be all the way at the front, or all the way at the front. You ideally want him behind Tamarinne. Tamarinne, you idle F3 and then press S1 just to strip everything. Because you need to get rid of the immunity buff. And since Baal won't be able to cut the head of Dingo here, I S3 for death buff instead. And this is the part that's annoying. If he has less than 2 debuffs, he's going to activate S2 as an extra attack. Stuns 2 people. And luckily, Baal did not get stunned. So we are just going to use our S3 here. Debuff him. This is why I put up Ras Stats buff. We got pretty unlucky with the debuffs, but we're going to use Death Break here and hopefully land it, which we did, just so that he doesn't get to use his S2 again. That's why I put up Ras Stats buff, just so we could tank that a bit easier, just in case Baal got stunned and we have to tank another one. So then at this point, you're just trying to spam damage onto him, or waiting for Baal S3 to come up as well. It's also worth mentioning that we're not going to use Baal S3 immediately on this turn, or whenever it comes up, just because Blaze Dingo, his S3 cleanses him, so you don't want to just burn all of your debuffs right before he uses his cleanse. So we can just wait here, but we'll still use S2 just for damage. He'll take very little damage if you have no debuffs on him, besides just him spamming his S2. Uses his S2 naturally there, and we're not going to use S3, we're just going to S1. And you can see there's being no damage taken from him. S3 is here, which also CR pushes him by 50%. And I'm going to S3 here, since we don't really have any debuffs on him anyways. Our damage is going to be pretty low, and I want to make sure I have enough souls. Tamarinne S3 is up though, so we can pop this. Push everybody up. Now we can use Baal S3, hopefully we land more than 1 debuff this time. We landed all 3, which is very, very nice, and now we can just start pumping damage into him, and he should be dead before he gets to S3 again. Insane high roll here, getting both his S1 poison plus the Seared Run poison. Though he would have died anyways with Ras S2 into Mercedes S1, but with the extra debuff, he can take extra damage, he's dead. So this is the backup team for 103. Instead of Baal, we will be using Suthan. Suthan is also a little bit hard to get, being a dark ML3 star, but easier to get than Baal, I would say. And compared to Baal, this team I would say is a little bit worse. Suthan's debuffs are a bit less useful than Baal's. He doesn't have Death Break, no speed down. He has instead Unhealable and 2 burns. The problem with burns is they proc at the very start of the turn, so these burns are essentially 1-turn debuffs. However, he does have a chance to burn on his S1, so you can extend the debuffs a little bit that way. But basically, this works okay. It's just a little bit worse than Baal, just a little bit more accessible as well. So let's go over the stats. First up is Adventurer Ross on his plus 15 Path of Air gear with Aureus to reduce the amount of damage that all of our allies are taking. And then his skill tree is just skip the F-Res one and skip the S1 damage one. We've also got Tamarinne on her Path of Air gear as well. Just max this out with Magraha's Tome. And then we have Mercedes, who is on a mix of her Path of Air gear. This is the plus 15 Path of Air gear with the Ogre Armory Path of Air gear for the boots, because I just like having speed main stat. Plus the plus 15 crit set gear from Path of Air as well, with Daydream Joker. Then there is Suthan, who I ungeared, but I can just do his magic equipment real quick. I have a decent idea of who has his gear. I'm pretty sure it's just this. This, and this. So this is all you really need. You need 60 effectiveness. and then a good amount of speed, as much as you can get really, and then some bulk. So that's pretty much it. And then for his artifact, Prophetic Candlestick might be nice, just so you have a chance to reduce his S3 cooldown, maybe activate it again. Or if you have Edica Scepter already, that's also probably really good here. I used Warhorn for my run though, just because it's more consistent. Gives a bit of attack to Mercedes as well, plus a bit of cycling from the Combat Readiness push. And do make sure that you +4 his S3 at least, just so you can get this 2 burn effects. Also, it's worth noting that his S2 gives you 25% effectiveness, 50% if you have it max. So this effectiveness stat here, you see, only needs to be either, it said we need 60 effectiveness, so it's 35 effectiveness, or only 10 if you have it his S2 maxed out. That's it for everyone's stats, and now we can take a look at the run. The wave 1 is the unlimited rats floor, and this floor takes this wave rather, takes a very long time, so I'm just going to speed it up to 2x. The way it works is when you kill a rat, they will decrease the skill cooldowns of another rat. And then if there is less than 6 rats, when they use their S3, they will summon another rat. Also, hitting any rat with a single target attack, like right now, will see our push every other rat up. So these rats will just pretty much infinitely spawn rats unless you kill all of them before they manage the S3. That elite rat, the one in the back right, that also has the HP bar at the top, is slightly tankier than the other ones, so you do want to try and kill that one first, just so you don't have to deal with it. The way you would do this is you probably want to just get all of the rats to low HP and kill them all at once, but realistically, you can also just spam AoEs, because Mercedes' damage output is high enough. You're gonna spam AoEs, and then eventually you'll just have a few rats left, and you can just burst them down. The damage is kind of annoying. Ross almost died there, just because he was taking so much damage from all the rats hitting him. And now we're finally about to kill the final rats. One dies to the burns, and we are finally into wave 2. So here, first up, just kill Cidd. He's kind of annoying to deal with. See if you can kill him. If you don't manage to kill him in time, he is going to regen to full HP later. The way this wave works is try to not buff up, that's why you see me not using Ross skills or Mercedes S3. Also avoid using healing, because non-attack skills will give Cidd evasion 50% until his next turn, so you won't really be able to do damage to him too reliably. If you have a buff when Blaze Dingo attacks, he's going to use his S2 as an extra attack. Damage for that can be kind of hard to keep up with. And also, once Blaze Dingo's S3 is available, he's going to switch over to normal Dingo, and that is where the rest of the fight will take place. So now Cidd's about to die, so you could S2 him, or you could just S1. We still have 2 turns left on Blaze Dingo, so no point in rushing it. And we're able to kill him here. So now we're just waiting for him to use his S3. And with Cidd dead, we can safely use our S2 without having to deal with the evasion on Cidd. And now we are in phase 2 of the fight, where it does get a little bit dicey with the debuff consistency. We're going to idle Tamarinne S1 and then strip all of his buffs. And now we are going to try and spam debuffs in him. So like I mentioned, it gets kind of dicey just because Suthan, his burns only count as 1 turn debuffs technically. He needs to have, you see here, the 2 burns tick down to 1 immediately. So once on the next turn, they'll tick down to 0 and he won't have the debuffs anymore. If Dingo doesn't have 2 debuffs when he uses S1, he's going to use his S2 as an extra attack, and that is going to do a ton of damage. It also stuns, which is very annoying. The more debuffs you have on Dingo, the more damage he'll take. Very annoying that we missed Death Break there. We land 1 burn at least. So this plus Death Break gives us 2 debuffs. There's not really too much to say about this part. You're just kind of spamming damage and hoping you don't die. It is worth mentioning here though that Dingo S3 cleanses, so you don't need to spam your debuffs on this turn. You can just, like here, that S3 is a mistake. You don't need to use S3 there, he's going to cleanse it immediately. You can see him checking, he cleanses. But since we did the debuffs, we might as well go for a bit of extra damage since we have the debuff stacked on him already. And now he's going to cleanse it all off. And we'll get to experience what happens when you don't have debuffs on him. No S1 proc, unfortunately. If we had a burn there, we would have been able to fish for a Ras S2 Death Break. Instead, I defense buff up so we don't die. You can also see he's taking no damage when he has no debuffs on him. There's the S2 extra attack, and it also stuns people, which is very annoying. So Mercedes gets stunned here. 1 more turn for Suthan. But Ras gets stunned on this turn instead. And we're just going to use S3 and all 3 debuffs. You can opt the soul burn. Suthan S1 at some points does increase the burn chance on his S1 to 100% if you find yourself needing the debuffs. Make sure you have enough souls for Ras S2 as well. Unfortunately, Ras didn't cut there, otherwise we would have gotten a bit more damage in. And here, I'm actually not sure if RP would have killed or not. Didn't want to risk it though, so I just tried to play it out normally. Also, it looks like Dingo is going to cut ahead of Ras, but Mercedes has the revive still, so we're going to be fine. He actually ended up targeting her and had no debuffs, so the S2s. But she revives, and we can just... If we land our Death Break here, he'll die, which we did. So we are clear.